Welcome. My name is Maciej Sukiennik, and today I have an amazing pleasure to welcome you all in this room, our audience via streaming on YouTube, and I hope some people who will watch our speeches later on, also on YouTube. This is the 6th edition of CBRE Talks, so when this idea first was kind of set aloud, I remember with Greg and with Roman at that time and with Salvatore, I believe we didn't think that we will kind of live up to the 6th edition, so I'm really glad and very excited that we have this opportunity for the 6th time to meet each other, to share our ideas, to inspire each other, share our stories, our hobbies, our adventures, especially during this kind of crazy times, right? So even though 2 years ago we had this pandemic outbreak, we are still meeting, we are still having the CBRE Talks. Last year it was a streaming from a studio, but this year again we are able to meet face to face, all of the speakers here in the room, and share with you our inspiring ideas. So we have a couple of CBRE Talks veterans, like myself, like Salvatore, Piotr. We have some new faces, so it's also an amazing thing that even though we have some people just recently joining the company, they can see a CBRE Talks as a great opportunity to learn something, to broaden the horizons and to inspire the others. And again, we had a pleasure to work with our great trainer, Mr. Jarek, who is over there behind the camera. So thank you, Jarek, in advance for everything you did for our speakers to prepare them. And without further ado, let me introduce you to the first speaker, Emilia. She will tell you about her experience when she was on the verge of joining a CBRE. So she will tell you more about how to make a fear your friend. So, all dear audience here in the room via YouTube, please give Emilia a big applause to encourage her.
Thank you, Maciej. Hello CBRE, hello everyone. I must say it's such an honor to be the first speaker today and to open this year's CBRE Talk session. I think it's not coincidence that I'm the first speaker today, because my topic is related to my subject, and actually I'm going to talk about emotion, about very powerful emotion which I am experiencing right now. So it's kind of interesting. So let's start from a story. So it was May 2018. My life was a total mess. I was a student of American Study Center in Warsaw University, and I was just finalizing my second year of university. Instead of just concentrating on my diploma project, I started thinking about my future. What will be when I will graduate the university? What I'm gonna do? Whom I will become? These feelings, these thoughts just make me so overwhelmed. So I decided, okay, probably I need to find a job. And I started to applying for every single open positions via internet. I was also asking my friend if they know any positions. So I thought maybe if I will find a job, I will actually find new inspiration and I will find a new surrounding. So maybe it's gonna be new purpose for me. So I did great. I was actually looking every day. And you know what? One day I received an invitation from CBRE. I still remember the day. Of course, I didn't know nothing about the company. I just knew that this company is international and it's something I'm looking for. So once I read the email, the battle in my body began. Like I was divided into two parts. One part was thinking, okay, you know, you did great. You actually, you don't have any experiences, but right now you just received an invitation for the interview. This is great. But my second part was more strong. I was started to think, well, I am just finishing my master's studies. I don't have any professional experience in my CV. So how they actually can even think about me as a candidate? So I was like, well, another thought in my head comes up, like, you are from humanitarian studies, and a real estate company just invited you to join their company, like it's a joke. and you know, the same thoughts over and over again. I started to write a story in which I will fail, not even trying this. So 2 days left before the actual interview date. And what happened? Nothing. I spent, I don't know, 3 days thinking about it and doing nothing. So I said to myself and asked myself, Emilia, what are you really scared of? And I was like, I'm scared that I'm going there and they don't like to speak to me because maybe I'm not super professional or I'm not a best fit for them. And well, okay. But you're just a graduate student, how you can be the best fit for the company? And I was like, really? So what can I do? I sit and I write a list of things that about what they probably may ask me. So on this list was like skills of Excel, communication skills, like what I know about the company. And I had 2 days. And I actually tried to do that. I started to do quick and basic Excel trainings. I started talking to my friends and like, okay, tell me how this interview looks like, because I have no experience in it. And I was trying to get more from the people about the situation. And on actual date, I realized actually that the failure will be not to come to the office prepared, but it's not about the failure that I will go and if they don't like me, what can I do? I can apply for another job. It's about me going there and check the environment if I like to be there. So you see, actually my interview went pretty well. I was super relaxed because I know that it's my chance just to look how it looks like. It's not one option. I have a lot of options in my life. So on the slide, you can actually see my first picture made in CBRE, me being as a visitor. So it actually was before my interview, and I already did the picture to memorize it. You know why? Because I came to the office, I came to the building, and I realized that I actually really like this. And it doesn't matter how it will go. I still will try to work in such environment because I already liked it. So, and here's the picture that I did it. It's my picture, my first picture in CBRE, being not as a candidate, but actually already hired for a real estate portfolio analyst. Okay, so as you see, fear has played an important and significant role during evolution and survival. Like many other emotions, fear can be really strong and crucially paralyzing, but it's really important for our safety. So let's think about nowadays types of fear. Do you think it's the same as it was before? Like, it seems that nowadays we have less dangerous fear, but think about how it affects our body. Reaction for the body is the same. So, fear comes from part of the brain which is called amygdala. This is a Greek word which means almond. When we feel and when we see threat, the reaction comes to our body and it activates the motor function, flight or fight. It also releases stress hormone, cortisol, and make us really nervous. And you see, do you think it's fair that such small piece of our brain, like almond, make effect on our decisions, make effect and impact on our future? Not really. So, recently I read a book. It's called Think Like a Monk, and it's written by Jay Shetty. The book is written by the guy who spent 3 years in ashram in Buddhist monastery, and after that he produced a book, and it's a really amazing refreshing book which is tells about mindset and describes our reactions, our emotions. I totally recommend you this book because it actually motivates me to be here. This book opens to me that few years ago, in 2018, I step ahead to my fear and I start talking to this. This book opens to me that I actually doing my best, and I started realizing that fear is not a bad thing. It can be actually positive one. So I pick 3 takeaways from this book and actually want to present it to you so we can see how actually we can overcome fear. So step number 1, talk to fear. By understanding your fear, by understanding the root of it, you can actually make more clear, more confident steps ahead. It's important to ask clear questions when you feel anxious, stressful. You need to get to the root by asking what I'm really scared of. Let's take, for example, me today. Do you think I don't have a fear of public speaking? Yes, I do. And now I overcome it because I sit with myself and ask myself, what I'm scared? Am I scared to fail in front of the audience? I was like, yeah, pretty much. But what else? I was like, probably because my English may be not so good or my pronunciation. I guess I might be really, I don't know, my body language may be incorrect. So I was like, what can you do with it? And I was like, okay, let's train. Let's record myself in home. Let's ask my, I don't know, boyfriend to watch me and tell me some suggestion what I'm doing right or wrong. And after that, it's not seem so scary anymore, right? It feels like you can do this. So so it's important to make fear your friend. And believe me, once you do this, when you try to build this special connection, you will feel and your self-esteem will grow. So let's move to the second step. Use fear as a warning. Does anyone actually thought that fear can be a useful tool that can help you like warn you about something, like, hey guy, you know, something may happen and it's not good. So what can you do about it? You're still under control. So think about fear of car accidents. When we have these feelings that something bad can happen, what we do? You will never sit in the car under substance like alcohol or other. You will not talk by phone when you drive, and the same, you will never drive when you are not feeling well mentally. Another example is a fear of COVID. Yeah, let's take this as an example. We're all afraid that COVID may kill our loved ones. And what we do? We actually think about it and we all go and take vaccination. In this way, we protect not ourselves, but our loved ones. Another one is also global warming. So we know that something bad is happening with our Earth, so we try to protect it. We're trying to reduce water waste. We're thinking about eco-friendly products. So actually, volunteering is also a good example. So last but not least, it's breathe. We all have a natural way to control our fear. When we breathe, we actually calm down and we relax. By breathing, we can actually identify if our fear is strong or it's minor. And by feeling relaxed, we can think clearly about further steps. So you see, every day, each individual is experiencing thousands of emotions. What will happen once we will start talking to them and understand them? I believe that your future, your life will be more balanced, more beautiful, and you will feel self-confident and calm in this life. So thank you very much. And I would like to ask for this stage the next speaker, Tomasz.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Emilia, for a warm welcome and great opening. That will be helpful for us all today. And I hope it will be very good learning experience, because learning was always that thing I hated the most, because I found it repulsive to learn from the books at the high school, from which I was almost expelled twice, and I dropped the uni 3 months in because I didn't find it as fun as it could be. But you may say some years ago it changed, because by sheer accident I started playing a video game, because I'm an avid gamer. So I've started playing Nier Automata. It's a beautiful story, fantastic visuals, and as an android mate, you kill little cute robots. And I got stuck. So I started to try to find some kind of materials about game mechanics. I found something that was deeper meaning in the title, clicked right away, and it turns out that was philosophical essay on whole game. Then, when I came back to it, it suddenly became more clear that some of the characters I've met along the way was Karl Marx, Engels, Blaise Pascal, Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, and Søren Kierkegaard. At first, I didn't have slightest idea what those persons represent, what their story. I started watching again and again, started learning about all those great minds of European philosophy, like Jean-Paul Sartre, who is one of the famous figures as it comes to existentialism, because whole game theme is basically it. Also his lover, Simone de Beauvoir, who was also a very big representative of the second wave of feminism. All of that just got me thinking that maybe there is a lot of more than just superficial layer of pure fun, right? And after some time, when I picked another title, I've started not from opening it up and start playing, but I tried to understand what exactly is going on there. So this title is also a Japanese one. Surprise, surprise. It's called Persona 5. And first thing when I came back home, was what exactly persona means, because it rang some bells, but I wasn't quite sure. So I started to Google it, and after some research, it turns out that also very flashy, very action-packed game is basically psychoanalysis by Carl Jung. Because persona concept is this thing that we create characters when we talk to different people, right? We're putting the mask. And characters during their adventure are ripping this mask off and showing their true self. But it's not only thing that borrowed from Jung. Also, there's enemies we met along the way, and they are called shadows. And basically, in psychoanalysis by Jung, shadows are representations of our best and worst qualities. Let's have an example. When I meet a guy that is hardworking, straightforward, like similar things like me, best friends forever, immediately, like no question asked. But if I somehow met short-tempered, cowardly, and very passive-aggressive guy, that will be good, great no-no. But still, those two persons are me, right? There's also concept of the archetype. When we, as people, create some basic biases, right? Like collective unconscious, it's called. And this, you may say, experience of trying to check out something new sparked up my curiosity. So I started to look into things more than before, right? So, again, pretty monothematic, right? But still, it also came intertwined with my few other hobbies, like also music history. Like the one you see on the screen right now, it's from a series aired last year, but this character is somehow based on Fifth Symphony of Beethoven. So my first thing I thought that was, how? Because this is an interpretation of such a great work. And I realized that I didn't heard it for a long time, so I decided to give it a go a few times. And it also occurs to me that the whole movement called Destiny is basically the same phrase, repeated over and over again, because its most famous one, it's da 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 da, right? But as you hear it, it becomes clear that this phrase is repeated once, twice, thrice, but with added instruments, added orchestrations, somehow changing the tempo, and it evolves. It grows on the listener, right? Similar intersection with music is also with one of my favorites animated series. It's called Cowboy Bebop. Last year, probably some of you may heard that it was it got live adaptation from the Netflix. But also, I found it weird at first that basically noir film that taking place at Mars or Jupiter or one of its moons is have soundtrack has just soundtrack, right? When I started thinking about it and read some analysis, it turns out that basically whole series and each episode is jazz song, right? It starts with main theme and it evolves through the whole this arrangements, changing of tempos, solos. It's great. And this journey didn't stop here. Last stop is finally picking up something new, right? Because everyone has something that we're thinking about picking up, right? Like learning new language. I bet everyone have one, right? In my case, it was Japanese, and I'm starting to learn, well, this year, let's say. But I will do more. I'll learn about history. I'll learn about their society as a whole. And probably many of you think, why I'm telling you this? Well, basic reason is that once I was anti-learning for everything. I didn't want to, it was waste of time. But one simple thing that I like caught my attention and sparked up this curiosity. So I started to learn more, just because I found it fun. I was curious to know more about things that I like, or with time, things I didn't even know I like, right? Because there is a term called neural plasticity. And how it works. It's like that. Every human being can create new neural connections, can improve their memory, can learn more and newer things. So basically, all we need is a trigger. And this trigger should be curiosity. Let's try to spark up this a little bit. Let's speed up and try to see world as wonderful as we saw it as a child. Because it may be helpful for our hobbies, for our lives in general, for our work even, right? Because when we start asking questions like why, then we can try to challenge status quo. Maybe something good comes up. But this is up to you. And I want to leave one sentence with you. Just stay curious. Thank you. So, second, right now, there will be another speaker, Wiesław, also with learning team. I bet you will kill it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this presentation. Tomasz, it was really interesting. I have something to think right now. And thank you, Emilia. Good that now I know how to deal with the fear. Unfortunately, I didn't have a time to test it somehow, so I'm still horrified. But my topic is quite connected with the previous one. It's also about some learning, and it's about what I learned from doing just one simple thing. And you can also try it. But this is not a magic pill which can help you to solve all the problems, but it's rather something what requires time, but it gives you back much more than you invest in it. And let me show you the lessons I got from it, and starting from the first one. Lesson number 1, it develops perspective. This little activity helps to see this situation from the different perspective, from the perspective of other person. This activity helps me, and still helping, I learning in the relationship with my wife, because when we are speaking about things which seems to be different, in fact maybe not different, but we just look at this from the different points, and this activity is helping me to try to understand her a little bit more and avoid some arguing. Lesson number 2, M3, deepens focus and memory improvement. Focus is something what we really needed our professional life and our work. And I'm happy to realize that after a while of doing this, I really focused on the tasks I'm doing. I'm not disturbed by any noises, laughing, making coffee, because if I focused on the task, I don't hear just anything else. And memory improvement. I just know that I can recall the names which I saw a month or 2 months ago just once or twice, but when later I need this information, I just remember that, oh yeah, I did it, something related with this person some time ago. So these two are going together. However, it's not always working, because when I'm focused, for example, and my wife is asking me to start laundering, I forget about it, but happens. Moving on, lesson number 4, creativity. Creativity probably is the most valuable asset nowadays. You need to be creative, you need to really think differently, not like other thinking, and this small activity helps you to come up with new ideas, new solutions, new situations. So I really encourage you to try. Of course, probably you don't know what I mean, but wait a moment and soon I will show you what I mean. Moving on, lesson number 5, planning skills. We all are planning everything. We are planning our calls, we are planning our meetings, our vacations, holidays, everything. And how many times you noticed that you thought about everything, about different perspectives, but then you forgot about something that you took into consideration. So this little activity, with the time, of course, will help you to take into consideration everything. So all possible details and only just hard situations. In hard situation, you can forget about some things and skip something. It's another advantage that you can learn with me. Lesson number 6, benefit for kids. Yeah, we're not the kids anymore, but we do have a kids or siblings or nephews, anybody who is just a kid now, but if you discover for your kids or relatives or for the kids you know, this activity, it may help you a lot. And apart from the advantages and benefits which already mentioned and will be mentioned later, just remember that one day this kid can come to you, let's say your son, and thank you for showing this way, because he will bring you just 1 million euro that he earned, and I will tell you later how. Lesson number 7, prevention dementia. I don't have it, I hope, and I don't want to have it. So, in order to prevent it, I just use this very cheap and I would say even free method, but it gives you much more than you put in it, so worth to try, always worth to try. You know what? Will be lesson number 8. Increase self-awareness. We all are asking the question, who we are. Let's take as example negotiations. Do you prefer attack strategy or defense strategy, or to create some situations or simplify everything? You will understand about yourself much more doing this secret activity that I will show you later. And it will help you to understand how to behave and maybe improve some, let's say, weaker side of your personality. Number 9, panic attacks. Fortunately, I do not have it. However, I have a friend of mine who is afraid of flights. When he's on plane, it's almost his funeral. It's really huge fear. And when I read about this fact, we decided to try. Why not? And after a while, we were surprised that it actually works. The panic attack symptoms were significantly reduced, and 2-3 hours flight is not such a problem anymore. So if you know someone who is suffering from these symptoms, please try. It may help to other people. Lesson number 10, stress. We know what the stress is, but I divide the stress for external and internal. External comes from external factors like some emails, task amount, something what you cannot basically control or influence in any way. But there is also internal one, and internal one is caused by something what we did, by the consequences of our actions and decisions, and how to manage it, how to deal with this. You will learn it with the time. Nobody can give you the solution, but you will understand it for yourself. Just as an example, I buy additional insurance for my devices. I didn't say that all solutions can be good, but it's also something. The last one, but not the least, mistakes. We often hear that we all make mistakes. We are human beings, mistakes are okay. And I always have a problem with the statement, because if it's so natural and if it's so okay, why we hear about it so often, like trying to convince ourselves? Here, doing this, you will understand that mistakes are actually fine, and you will not just know that it's natural, but you will feel that it's natural. And nobody says that eating is okay. Everybody is eating. Nobody hears it from anyone. The same with the toilet, but I will not go so deep into this. The point is, after doing this, after learning, you will actually understand what the mistakes are, and you will learn from these mistakes in order not to repeat them again. Those who know me probably already know what I'm talking about, but for those who are still guessing, this is the game, also known as a Game of the Kings, which became famous around 2 years ago when the series was released, named Queen's Gambit. Of course, I'm talking about chess. Chess, it's not really known when it's appeared and where, but it's traced back around 1,500 years ago, and it appeared in North India and became famous in Europe after expansion of the Islamic Arabian Empire. And there are a lot of stories and legends about it, but one of my favorite, probably my favorite one, is there was the king in North India who was not a really good king. And one day, wise men came to him and showed this game, the first version of it, and told him to play. After a king played a few times, he realized that he did not value the people's life in his kingdom, and he changed his mind after this. So he realized that even the weakest and somebody or something what seems to be useless or not important is actually important and plays huge role in everything, in whole structure. This is the first lesson he learned. And the second one, the king wanted to reward the wise man and offered him as much gold and silver as he wanted. But the wise man said, no, please give me as much grain as you can put on the board. Consider it on the first cell, you put the 1 grain, on the second one 2 grains, and each next cell, please double amount of the previous cell. King was laughing and did not understand actually why it's so small amounts the wise man wants. But then when he tried to collect such amount of grain, it turned out that there is no such amount of grain in the whole kingdom. It's impossible to collect. And this is the second lesson that says that even if something looks not really important and small, it doesn't mean that it is like this. Just look deeper. Some interesting facts about it. The word checkmate came from the word shachmat, which literally means the king is dead. Not really optimistic, but it is as it is. Some fact I'm really happy about, personally, second book ever printed in English was about chess. Good choice. Although recently I saw the book with the name Fried Green Tomatoes, and somewhere we turned to the wrong direction, but okay, probably we still have a chance to come back to the right one. Unlimited amount of possible positions in the chess game. Basically, that's where all these advantages and lessons come from. It's creativity, it's memory, it's everything. It's just up to you how you will play and what strategy you will choose. You will learn a lot. The numbers, 472,000, 9 million. 9 million possible positions and situations. It's the amount which is possible after each of the players make just 3 moves. First player, second player, 1 move, 400 possible positions. After third one, it's 9 million. So try to convince me it's not interesting. And I promised you to mention why it's beneficial for kids and where 1 million euros come from. This is the reward if you become a champion of the world. So if you have a crown, that's how much you paid. I think your kids will be grateful if they're interested and if you give them a chance. So, what I would like to say in the conclusion. If you're interested and if you want to try yourself, it's always worth to try. If you played before but didn't do it for a long time, or if you are playing and you just don't have anyone to play, feel free to contact me. We'll play a game, we can organize the tournament, we can just spend a great time. Although it's the name of the Game of the Kings, it doesn't mean that only kings should play. It's for everyone. Thank you very much for attention. And probably the question which you can come up with is where to find the time for all of this. And this is the topic of our next speaker. Piotr, please come and share with us secret techniques.
Yaczesław, thank you very much for introduction. In your speech, you mentioned chess. So today, I'm going to present a topic related to time. I hope that it will help you to find time not only for chess, but many other interesting activities. So let's begin. Time was always a very important topic. Scientists were looking into various theories, maybe wormholes, maybe parallel universes, to find more time, to find sufficient space for some activities. Today, I'm going to share my own experience and inspire you how to find more time. So let's go. My name is Piotr. My story began in 2016 when I joined CBRE. At that time, my problem was commuting to office. I spent a lot of time going back and forth and spending lots of time traffic jam. Look, this is my typical week schedule. I wake up in the morning quite early, then I stayed in a long time commuting, then I was working, and in the afternoon I had some time for my activities. I waste a lot of time, so, well, that was my life at that time. Suddenly life has changed. You remember that we all moved back to home, we moved to homes, and we had to start working from home. And maybe some of you can ask question, what has happened with life of young gentlemen as me, right? So, what has happened? Some of you may think, well, he just slept longer. He started to work from home, maybe in his panties. Then he was watching movies, eating a lot of not healthy food. But this is not the case. I still kept waking up quite early, and my activities from the afternoon, they moved back to the morning. I started to jogging in the morning, I was playing tennis at 7, etc. At the same time, it already had to save me a lot of time, but I did one more thing. I started to run in my, headset, and that helped me to save even more time. And now the question is what I did with this extra time. I saved almost 40 hours per month. Well, I started to meet with my friends, with my all university students, which my fellow colleagues, and we started to meet regularly online. And we had some nice ideas. One of them was to launch a twin project. Twin project meaning we wanted to, exchange ideas, meet with people from other cities. Initially online, but we had in mind an idea, well, maybe once it will be possible to meet. So we started to meet on a regular basis online. We started to exchange ideas, what we could do together, where we could travel, what could be interesting for us. We started to share our hobbies, what we could do better in the world. And suddenly, the opportunity arrived. So we arranged a trip with a group of people from Poland. We traveled to Frankfurt am Main, and we spent really fantastic time there. We've seen Old Town in Frankfurt, we've seen ECB House, we went on a boat trip, so plenty of wonderful food, cousin from Mexico, cousin from Germany. So that was really wonderful time. And now I have a challenge for you. Think about how to optimize your own calendar, find activities that you could fit in them, and that will help you to achieve even very, very far away goals. So thank you very much, and let me introduce another speaker, Maciej.
Thank you, Piotr, for sharing with us these amazing tips around how to master your own time and what you can do with this free time. So right now, I would like to share with you my story. And I had this temptation this year not to speak about philosophy, but at the end of the day, I kind of failed. So even though I was kind of planning to tell you only about some, let's say, material stuff, eventually I failed, but I think it's good. So today I will tell you a difference between restoring and destroying on the example of my new hobby. So when finally we were kind of, again, free people, so we left homes, I kind of felt this urge to find something new which I can do after working hours instead of sport. I've been doing sport for so many years. I already told you in last couple of years about sport and what you can do, what you can learn from sport. So my last year, I don't remember exactly, it's not important, I found on Facebook a nice course around chair renovation. So I thought, okay, I can try it out. My grandfather was a carpenter. I never tried doing that, but I was thinking, okay, maybe it is within my blood. Okay, I will just come to the workshop and somehow I will know how to do this stuff with the wood. So exactly this picture we can see on the left side is from those workshops, and this is the first chair I renovated. So since that time, I believe I renovated a couple of chairs already. I built my small workshop in my parents' house in Limanova. So I became kind of a, they call it in this carpentry world, a weekend warrior. So from time to time, I would say once or twice per month, I travel to my parents' house. It's around 4 or 5 hours by car. But to be honest, it doesn't matter because I know that over there, there is a nice adventure waiting for me. But again, it is not so important, and let me dig into details and you will understand in a couple of minutes what I wanna pass to you, inspire you based on my story. And there are two layers of this message I want you to remember at the end of this presentation. So let's start with the first one, very simple, transparent, clear message. And I already told you about this story. So again, this is the whole process, removing the old layer of the chair, the cover of the chair. Then after it's clean, you paint with a new layer, and then when it comes to the seating, the soft piece and the material, you also have to replace. So the wider message is that, of course, you can go to IKEA, and even though there is an inflation, the materials are more expensive, the chairs are relatively cheap, right? So for example, this one is 99 zloty, right? So if you need 4 chairs, it's 400 zloty. So what about versus restoring? And by the way, this is one of the chairs I restored recently. I got it for free, actually from my boss. So hi, Anita. And I just had an idea how to restore that, and this is the final effect. So it is relatively easy to just go and buy a new chair, right? So quick to buy, you just go there, small price, wide variety of choice, colors, and so on and so on. So it's pretty much easy. You just have to have money in your pocket. Yesterday we got the salary, so I'm pretty sure you can go to IKEA and buy a new chair. But there are also some minuses. Honestly speaking, when you compare a quality of the materials versus 10, 20 years ago, it's low. Let's be honest with each other, it is being built, produced, so that it would last only for a couple of years, so then you have to buy another one. Not very durable, and they are mass manufactured. So pretty sure if you will visit your friends, you will be surprised, oh, I bought those chairs last week, so then you know they are not uniques. So from one side it's very easy, from the other hand the quality is low and it's mass manufactured and so on. What about the stuff you renovate? So it's very durable, believe me. There are some chairs, materials, wardrobes made out of real wood of another material, and it can last for decades. So actually when you start renovating that, you can discover a very good quality of, let's say, a chair, a wood. And when you renovate that, you can get a very unique outcome. So pretty sure that the chances of having a same chair somewhere around the world is 1 to 9 million Slava, or even more. I would say even smaller chances of getting a same outcome when you are renovating that. Of course, there are some minuses, because when it comes to the time you have to invest, some money, if you have to hire a master guy to do it for you, if you can't do it for some purposes, it is relatively expensive. And of course, you have to have time to go through OLX, Allegro, or any other portal where you can find used stuff. And it takes time to find it. So why to renovate? So a couple of years ago, when you would compare pros and cons between buying a new one and renovating, majority of the cases you would just make a decision due to lack of time. So again, Piotr already told you how you can win this time. Costs and so on, you would choose a new one. But these days, starting from this year, there is a big inflation. So if you go to the shop, those chairs are getting more expensive, and it is not only about a couple of percent, because when it comes to apartments and the stuff you have to buy to fit in the apartment, it's even more. When you think about the quality of the material, if you think in the longer perspective, if you want those chairs to be also used by your kids, grandkids, that's another thing to consider. Really, it's way better to use some old stuff to be renovated. And when you think about, people right now wanting to buy all of this stuff in IKEA and shops, sometimes you have to wait for months, for example, for the stuff for the kitchen, right? So bearing all that in mind, right now, my suggestion and recommendation is that if you are having your own new apartment, buying a house or whatever, it's really very recommended to consider, instead of buying a new one, trying to ask your friends, post on Facebook that you're searching for some old stuff. And believe me, this is what I did a couple of months ago. And thank you for all the chairs I got. They are currently in my parents' house waiting to be renovated. They are really great chairs from early 70s, so they are already 40, 50 years old. So, and there is a unique outcome. So, for example, this is the armchair I did. I got it from a friend. she wanted to be renovated. So this was actually kind of my first official, let's say, a delivery to the client. I got the chair. From the very beginning, I knew it's gonna be given back to my friend. So this is the final outcome, unique outcome. And by the way, the material I got by purely an incident. I mean, it was just, I didn't plan that. There was a guy on these workshops. I sold this material, so I asked him, can you sell me a little bit? And he just said, I can give you a little bit. So this is the very unique outcome. So that was the first layer of what I wanted to tell you. So these days, bearing in mind the prices, circular economy. Think about it, you know how to save the time. Don't fear, use the old stuff, just read how to check whether it's a good or a crap stuff, and you can definitely think about it. And there is a second layer, a hidden one, which I didn't plan at the beginning, so it's about the philosophy. I also found out that what is really important is the process. So, an example of this chair you've just seen. This is a step 1. This is a step 2. Then 8 hours later, this is what you get. So it really takes 8 hours to remove the old layer. So during this process, there are different emotions. There were inside me, like, it's better to give up, why I'm doing this, maybe I will give up, and this kind of stuff. But even though there are those emotions, you just forget about the time which is flowing. And 8 hours later, this is what you get. And you may think, okay, there will be another 8, 7, 20 hours to be done. Actually, this is the most difficult, the most time-consuming piece of the process. Then 2 hours later, you have everything painted, and then 6 hours later, everything is almost ready. And I'm pretty sure if I wouldn't be on the workshops, the last piece I would be able to do in another 2 hours. So all in all, the longest piece of the process is removing the old layer. And this is, I started 10th of November, and everything was finished 12th of December. So there is another thing which really kind of made me angry. I had to wait. I don't like to wait. I'm a very impatient person, so it was a very good lesson, and it still is a very good lesson for me to be patient, because actually I got this chair 10th of November, so I wanted this one to be ready on 12th of November, but it was 12th of December. Okay, I had to somehow bear with that, and it is what it is. So again, patience. And about the process, so I already told you what is important is patience. It is also trust that at the end of the day it's not gonna be damaged, and the final outcome will be what you would like to get. There is a vision, so you have to start with a vision. And of course, when you are removing an old layers, you don't have to have a vision, but if you start without a vision, you may somehow run out of energy, motivation, and so on, and then you will just stop and give up on this stuff. So you have to start with a vision, then you will have energy, motivation to move on, go on, regardless of some obstacles. And I already told you there are different emotions. This is a screen from a very nice movie I recommend, Inside Out. So emotions already covered. And there is something which is called in American English, I guess, true grit. So let me clearly and fastly explain that to you. It's about this kind of drive, internal drive to follow the passion regardless of obstacles and so on. So that's all I wanted to pass to you. So wrapping it up, there are 2 layers, the material and circular economy, and the process. And when you are in the process, regardless of the emotions, the flow of time is kind of broken, at least in your consciousness. So you stop thinking about the time. And for me, personally, this is something which allows me to relieve the stress, forget about the work, and just enjoy my hobby, just enjoy the process. So that's all from my side, and this is my pleasure to introduce you to Kamil, who this year will tell you more about a minimalistic approach to life. So I remember my speech from last year about fasting in mind, so I believe it's somehow being connected, but I'm not gonna to steal any more time, and Please, big Camille, big applause. Now it's Camille's time.
Thank you very much, Maciej, for this introduction and for the presentation. I think I know what I will do this weekend, or at least try out. So before I will dwell into my presentation, I would like to ask you one question. Can you relate to the protagonist of this movie?
Fine. I was 3 minutes late. I'm sorry for doing one thing wrong.
Oh, it's more. Let's start with the Driscoll murder.
Amazing. So all I got was confess between us.
You also mislabeled the evidence, so that confession is worthless if the sergeant here caught your mistake. Here are 3 cases with sloppy paperwork. Here are 2 pictures. One is your lock. Third is a garbage opinions. Can you tell which is which?
That was the down.
They're both your locker.
Gosh, I guess that's good.
So, probably not. My desk doesn't look like a dump. I have everything I need around me. I don't need anything more. Everything is okay. But have you had this feeling, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, when you started to work from home, when you were working in your living space, that there is something around you, something distracting, some heaviness on your back that you cannot really name? Maybe it's our attention span. I'm so sure I've read something on the internet about it. We do not have so much of it now, especially the younger generation. Except, it's not true. There are no studies that show that we have less attention span this time. So I want now to take you for a short journey that took me from here to that. And minimalism is a word we hear very often now. It's almost a commercial slogan. But my journey starts not with a book I've read about it, not with someone that came to me and told me about it, but with my own upbringing. So I was raised in just a usual home where there were people gathering usual stuff around them. Clothes, books, documents, small and big things you can use in the future because they may be useful and we should not throw them away. With time, it was apparent that all these things cannot fit in the designated spaces. Because of that, I never had my own room. I really found somebody else's clothes in my own wardrobe. So when I had opportunity, I left my house and I took some things with me. Some things I was so sure they're necessary to me. And in one of the houses I was living in, I've met a hoarder, a person that compulsively collects possessions. And for the first time, I saw it from a proper perspective. That person was stuck in one place, thinking all the time about one thing. Do I have already this thing? Should I buy it? Where did I put it? Have I took this from home? It's one of the 17 things I'm always taking from home with me. And I looked on myself and I thought, I'm not a hoarder myself, but all the things I have, they are taking my space, my personality, and also my time. So I looked on my room, and this is not it, I do not have a cat. And I started to categorize things. What do I really need? What is useful to me every day? Many of these things were just traps prepared by our society, by commercials, a fire stoked all the time in our heads that we should buy something. Everybody has that. You need to have this. Buy it before it will disappear. And I came to know that there is another trap in that. I wanted to sell these things because they have value. And I cannot sell something that has a value. But in an economy where everything new you can get very cheaply, very fast, used things rarely have a real value. And exactly like Maciej told us in the presentation, I started to renovate things, but I also learned to give them away. The things I did not need, maybe somebody else need them. I started to give away to organizations that would pass them to people in need. I thought that with many of them, I could not live, and yet after I gave them away, I never thought about them again. So at the beginning, I felt just like this chunk of marble. It has a form, but it's similar to every other marble block around. So it has no soul, really. But then I started to take a form. I was not defined by the things I owned, I was defining them. The less around me became more. So I started to gather all the things that I use. In this corner, I had my archery equipment because I really love archery. I really like to read reportage books. So here is the shelf with all the books I like to come back to. With time, I started to learn who am I? And I also started to find out what the new things that are interesting to me. So I started to be interested about my impact on the environment and my wallet. I looked into my bathroom and I asked myself, do I really need so many reusables? Do I need a plastic? I went almost zero waste. And I started also, just like Maciej found out, to renovate things that I would normally throw away. With time, I also developed a new taste in interior design. I started to notice everything around me. Because minimalism does not need to be white, devoid of happiness, empty. Everything that gives you joy has a purpose. For myself, I have a collection of board games that I play with my friends. And every box, even though it's a box, and you can have many boxes, is another experience. If I do not play it with them, they do not like it, I do not like it, I just give it away and I never remember about it. But is the minimalism only about material things? No. Especially now. Coming back to the beginning of the presentation, when I was talking about the attention span, there are no studies, once again I will repeat, there are no studies that really show that we have any less attention span than the generations before us. What happens to us is that we live in times where we have so much more distractions than the generations before us. And it's our choice to use them. For example, in work, especially in work, it's usually our phones. So I've deleted all my social media apps from my phone. In fact, by the end of this month, I won't have any accounts on social media at all. Do I miss because of that? Do I not go to the events I like? Do I not meet people I like? Am I in information bubble because of that? Not at all. And in work, I'm in work. If the world would like to connect with me, I will get a text message, I will get a phone call. But on this desk, I've put deliberately something distracting. And this is this ball that I've actually got last year from CBRE. It's a stress ball. I can squeeze it every time I'm stressed. I can play with it when I'm thinking about something. I also realized that I can exercise my eyesight when I'm looking at it. However, in the end, it's our choice, not the choice of the things that we possess. In the end, when we dig ourselves up, we look at ourselves and we see who we are, what we want to do, and what we have in our minds, what we want to learn and do with ourselves. With less litter around us, less litter in our heads, we grow as people. And I've learned my own way to minimalism, but I know it has sometimes a darker side. So we may be tempted to want less and less. So for example, we may think that, I should read only one newspaper or watch just one YouTube channel because it's so minimal. We can land in an information bubble because of that. Many ideologies I would not name promoted the idea of cleaning your surroundings before pushing it over. So we should not use it to belittle other people because they have, for example, more things than we do. It's something that should be used for our growth. So it's as I said, it's a process. I'm thankful that I had this time with you. I hope I had a possibility to inspire you. If you would ever need any help with approach to the minimalism, you can find me on Zoom in the company, and we can talk about it. Now I would like to present the next speaker, my colleague Arthur. Will he polarize you? Let's find out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kamil, for your presentation about minimalization. I hope there is one more thing we will try to minimalize after my speech. But let's take it slow. Let's start with a quick warm-up. Imagine a couple, just an ordinary couple. They have some very important decision to make, but they keep arguing with each other. And this argument doesn't really make much sense. Let it be dishes. Let it be dishes that are put into the table or onto the table. A guy doesn't like it. He likes the dishes to be put in the sink. But the girl, she doesn't like them in the sink. She wants them on the table. Come on, like, how can they just be a pile of dishes in the sink? And they just keep arguing with each other over and over again until they don't make an important decision they should have in the first place. So what does it have to do with my topic? Well, my topic is Let's Talk, a medicine for polarization. My name is Arthur, and thank you for watching me on this call. So, a polarization. Why do we need a medicine for that? Well, let's start from the beginning and talk why is it so bad. So first of all, it transforms our argument into something really bad, like a fight. We're fighting each other instead of talking. So we don't really want to achieve something else than just destroy the opponent during this fight. So the other opponent, he just needs to defend himself, right? So he won't surrender, won't admit he's been wrong, because it means that he's been defeated, right? And nobody wants to be humiliated by like a big defeat, right? So the end conclusion is that, well, we find no solution to our problem at all. So that's not really good. But how come, like, why can't we just argue with each other and discuss and disagree with each other? Well, we can. Actually, we argue, and this is not completely negative thing. We argue when our emotions take over our discussions, our rational arguments. So after that, we just want to convince the other party to our own thinking, to our own arguments, and at the point when the rational arguments don't convince the other party, then we just try to use our emotions and try to force our stand, our point on the others. And actually, this is not entirely bad. This actually makes us somehow push a little bit further the thing that we wanted to discuss, and sometimes it's the only way to convince the other party. But we shouldn't overuse it that much. Actually, we've been arguing with each other for hundreds, thousands of years. But why polarization has become such a problem nowadays? Well, it's a quite new problem, I would say. If we take a look at the data, we can see that in the US, in the last few decades, the polarization effect has come into place. If you take a look, then just a few decades ago, there were two groups, Democrats and Republicans, which were supported by the people. And those people, they were more or less willing to side with one or another, right? But fast forward a few decades, we can see those mountains going away from each other. That means that the people start supporting one or the other party, and they are just becoming blind and deaf on the arguments of the other. And this is where polarization happens. But actually, we don't have to look far away across the ocean to see that. If we take a look at the graph representing the political views of the Polish youth that was conducted last year, or actually 2 years ago, we can see that the amount of young people who did not view themselves either as a leftist or rightist has gone down dramatically. Like if you take a look just a few years ago, the gray line representing the people who don't really know whether they're on the right or on the left side of the political scene, it has gone down, which means they've just went either right or left. They've been polarized by our society. Okay, so we already know the situation doesn't look good, but what is the cause of this? Well, first of all, is the surroundings. Everything that's around us. Our history, our political system, our philosophy, neighbors, the job market, basically everything that surrounds us, and especially the media. Second thing is the sieged castle syndrome, which has become an issue in the last few years, as we can discuss it in a moment. And the last but not least are a bunch of cognitive biases, which I will discuss later. So let's start from the first one. And let's start with a small experiment that may bring it a little bit closer to you. So the experiment was conducted by Jane Elliott, a teacher from the US, just a few decades ago in the late 1960s. And basically the experiment is called Blue Eyes and Brown Eyes. And because of the experiment was conducted in that way. She took a class of children and divided them into two groups. One group had brown eyes, the other blue eyes. And basically she started treating one of the groups, let's say a brown eyes children group, in a more privileged way. So wherever they performed well, she immediately praised them. Whenever they performed bad, she maybe allowed them for a little bit more. But on the other hand, the second group, so the blue eyes children, she started treating them bad, and just basically wherever they performed bad, she somehow inflated this effect and said, yeah, of course, like your eyes are blue, so you must have made a mistake. And moreover, she forbid the kids to play with each other during the break. But the kids, initially, they didn't really follow on this division. They didn't really take it on, like on the spot. So the teacher came up with a very clever solution. She started giving some scientific arguments on why brown kids, I mean the kids with brown eyes, why they are better. Because like the brown pigmentation in the eyes, like it causes your brain to function faster and so on and so forth. And the kids actually started believing that, and they started to mock the children from the other group. But here comes a plot twist. Just on the second day of the experiment, the group has been reversed. So from that day on, the teacher treated the blue kids with a privilege, and the brown kids with let's say a little bit of scolding, a little bit of not treating them really well. And after those 2 days, the experiment was over. And the moral of the story is basically that if society pushes us to believe in something, then we may actually believe it without even knowing that it's been forced on us without any reasoning. So let's move to the second point, the sieged castle syndrome. So basically it means that there is a certain group of people which thinks the other groups are their enemies. And these other groups can be a different ethnic group, a different nationality group, or different class of society, even age, whatever that is possible to divide the groups between each other. And the main group fears that the other groups will attack it. So as we know, the best defense is attack. So they become more aggressive. They fight for their opinions more aggressively, try to push on their opinions, and they become really, let's say, electric when they start discussing certain topics that involve the main group's interest. And moreover, it's unfortunately being used in our political system because it makes the group feel angry and makes the group feel fear of the other groups. And actually the anger is the strongest emotion. So it's the easiest way to mobilize people to, let's say, vote for a certain party. And it actually happens all over political scene, not only on one or the other. So we wanted to achieve the efficiency in gaining votes, but actually the side effect is that we gained a society that's polarized currently, and that's not good, is it? Okay, the last thing are the cognitive biases. So what is it? It's basically something that makes our brain see things that are not there and not see things that actually are there. So let's go quickly through them because I don't want to make this presentation last for another half an hour. The authority effect has been used in the experiment by Jane Elliott. So it basically means that whenever somebody with, like let's say, high status or with a lot of knowledge tries to convince us to something, then we are more eager to believe them simply because of their authority. Another two biases that are commonly used, even I fall for them sometimes, are confirmation and omission bias. So confirmation bias basically means that we believe something is true and we have 1,000 reasons to believe that it's not true, but we find one reason that it's true. So we are more willing to believe this one reason, and this is the confirmation bias. And the thing that we discard those 1,000 reasons against us is the omission one. There are others like, for example, status quo bias or polarization effect, which means that some arguments can be used by one party or the other, the same argument. I think another thing we should remember is that all those biases actually are not all of them. I mean, there are much more, and you can go and search it because I think it's a really interesting thing to know. So, how do we tackle the polarization within our society? Well, I think every culture, every society has this wisdom that says basically, you want to change the world, start from yourself. So I would suggest that people should feel self-aware of all those biases, of how they participate in the discussion or later in an argument, that maybe some of the things they're thinking are actually not true because they're influenced by those biases, right? And I think that a nice thing to consider is whenever you're having a conversation or like an argument, you may set your goal as, okay, I want to learn something new from this person. I know that our opinions differ, but let me learn something new from you. And with that approach, I guarantee you, like your arguments, your conversations will look dramatically different. Like you won't be fighting, you'll be actually looking for some solutions, some middle ground. But sometimes, and I have to say that, like you may not find it, and that's fine. Like there are sometimes some things we have different opinions on, and it's completely okay not to agree on everything. So I would say, if everything fails, agree to disagree. And that's the thought I would like to leave you with. And thank you very much. Sorry for being too negative. Let's talk about some positive part of our relations.
Welcome and good evening. I want to, speak in front of the audience, our green family in CBRE. This is very, very, very big pleasure for me, and I'm really glad that I can take part in. And I'm so glad that I was speaking right before Arthur, because my small talk will be a little bit focused also on self-awareness, very much actually, to be honest. So, starting. I mean, this is the thing that I want to show you, because I want to invite you to my dream job, that people can, in the office, really support each other, and also appreciate that this environment in the office can be very safe and creative, and people are acting the way that they are doing better job, and they are really, like each other, and after that, develop together more. So that's the dream I have. But my reality before, and sometimes even now, so it's not the way. Many times I'm feeling demotivated. I really feeling that all my good potentials are floating away because of the environment and behavior of people around me. So, what can I do with that? That was my main thing to think about it, and to provide you with my very, I think that life experience that I want to share with you. This is what I really want to motivate you, that and inspire you, that being in this place, it's not always be necessary, that you really have an impact on that this is possible to change something and to go further, to keep your dots together. So have you ever felt this way? I mean, demotivated, hopeless, and disappointed at the same time. So I don't like to feel like that, and I'm pretty sure that each one of you feeling this way, it's more or less providing a rather low quality job than being your best you and best performer. And to be honest, I find the way to do that, because I start to look in this subject that maybe there is a kind of, maybe trick, maybe ability, maybe technique that I can improve me and others at work to, create the atmosphere of creative development and open discussion. And then I I just thought that maybe what it will be when I can, even lead my leader sometimes, that your boss is not pushing you or control you all the time, but acting the way that you really feel motivated about the job, that you want to, provide the best quality and the best practice, and use your all good features that you have inside of you. And I will share with you the thing that I made with the most important boss of my life. And I'm sure that you will gonna, take a part of my experience for yourself and maybe use it here in our green company, or with your spouse, with your friends, even with children. I think it's good. So this is my mom, and this is the leader of my life. I mean, she's a very powerful woman. She's very intelligent, that's one. She's focused on the goal, businesswoman, very down to earth, and very stubborn as well, really stubborn, a very bossy one. So we look together here like, this is pure love, me, my mom, and I'm very happy there. But it was not always the same. I'm pretty sure that many of you have the same feeling with your boss, with your colleagues, or with someone who was important for you. So the story, I was not gonna, go through all my traumas from childhood, just the one. So the story begins when I started living as a very young adult, in the distance from my mom. We was far away from each other. I was, new in a big city in Warsaw, and I really wanted to be supported. It was a stressful time for me. And my mom was calling to me just when she had to inform me about something. My post was coming to her address still. So, she was calling to me only when the post came. And she was like, Olga, there is a bill for you. There is a reminder to pay, or the fine to pay. So I felt frustrated with that. I mean, I really was counting that my mom will, just call me spontaneously. Yeah, that she will grab the phone and say, "Hey, Olga, how are you? What are you doing? Have you eaten well?" Or something this way. But it was not that case. I was wishing that she will do it like all mothers, but it was not. So, have you ever wait for someone's call for 1 day, 2 days, watching your phone if there is any action, any message or anything from someone, and that you feel, that someone is thinking about me, someone will call me by himself. So that was me at that point of time. And if I keep, waiting, I would rather die than to get the spontaneous call from my mom. So I felt depressed at that point. So big city, I'm alone, mom is not calling, and what to do? But I'm like the person that I don't want to live the way they are. So I decided to change a little bit my fate. But when I was depressed, I just finding myself release, and I'm eating chocolate. So the chocolate and sensation of the chocolate reminds me about another very good experience in my life, which is connected with my mom somehow. So when I'm the only child, and everything was for me at home. Everything was for sweet little Olga, and I just, get the best things from others. And it was a great time at the beginning, but then came kindergarten. And I went there. I entered the team of kindergarten children, and I get some feedback from them. So when I was coming to the group, for example, with something sweet, I just, was sitting somewhere and eating it by my own. Punkt. So what kind of feedback I get from the children? Not very positive, right? So they said that I am mean. And I felt, when I was 6 or 7, that it's so, unfair. I'm not perceiving myself as a mean person. So what has happened? That was just the behavior I was not used to share, No one taught me before, because I was only with the adults, alone, that you should first, came and said, offer, the first step, then share, and then eat if something will left, So there was some months that I learned this, automatic thing. And then I thought about my mom, that maybe she's also not mean. I was like questioning that. Maybe she's just, maybe she just don't know how to do it. Maybe the environment is not inviting her to the action of calling to me somehow. So look what I did after the chocolate philosophy. So I called my mom one day, and I asked her, "Oh, Mama, it's me. Today, please call me at 6 p.m. because I will be after very, very important meeting. And it is very, very important that I want to talk to you after because it will be supportive. Can you do that?" And my mom, the businesswoman, hearing me this way, like, okay, I can do it. But don't forget, it's very important. Okay. So then when she called me, I gave her, the best feedback I could give to the mother. That you are great, mom. Thank you. That was what I was waiting for your call, for your action. Thanks, you're a great mom. And only mothers, I think, can understand that, how strong feedback it was, because we are waiting all our lives to get the message from our child, you're a good mom, yes, good job. Yes, so it's like, you know, milestone for us. And my mother was very surprised by my, you know, acting. First of all, because I asked her to call me. And she was really, you know, thinking that maybe I'm taking a drugs or something, you know, such a big change. What is that? But she was very happy with that. Anyway, I was like, you know, asking a couple of times, and she was calling to me. And I was like love bombing after that. Yeah, you called me, great. Good job, mom. You're a nice person. I knew it from the beginning. And what was about me, you know? I mean, I felt so great. Even if I contract my mother to call me, I felt so supported at the same time. So there was like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I was contracting her each day and love bombing and contracting and love bombing. And she started to call me spontaneously. Like I was not waiting, and she just called me because the experience after that was so good for her. So, but it was not the magic, you know, I'm not a genius. I just Googled that technique. And this is about positive reinforcement, reinforcement itself. This technique is very well known as operant conditioning. And I want to focus your attention on reinforcement, because reinforcement is increasing behaviors. And punishing, this is the other way around, we can also influence behaviors of others, decrease the behaviors. So what I did, I gave her something positive stimulus after the behavior. So it was positive reinforcement. And the father of this is Skinner in Harvard University, and he was doing experiments on rats and, you know, trying to find out what is learning, what is this conditioning, and if it's work for everybody or just for rats. But it's, you know, the learning is very true, and this is the ability for rats, for dogs, for humans, for bosses as well, and maybe not for cats. But on the other way around, my cat is very good, you know, with this conditioning, operanting conditioning on me. How? So she gets what she wants, whatever she wants, with the technique of meowing, you know. When I'm not doing what she wants, she's meowing all the time. But this is not the best, I think, to try that in the office. So come back to operant conditioning. What I did is reinforcement, and when we are thinking about the cat, what the cat made to me, right? So it was a punishment and reinforcement. Is someone knowing that? It sounds like a punishment, right? But it's not. It's actually reinforcement, but in a negative way. So the cat, before my giving her a milk, for example, provided to me very strong negative environment. You know, the meowing was so bad. And when I made the behavior, she took away something what was disturbing me. And then I felt relief and happy. Oh, good, take the milk and go away. So it was reinforcement, actually. So if you want to build the behavior of others, you have to use the reinforcement. If not, then go for the punishment. And this will stop the behavior. Stopping the behavior, punishment. But, you know, when you will stop the behavior, you have to teach also the people to act in different way. You have to show them the way. If not this way, so which way? And, you know, motivate them to do that and to go this way. So, why my mom was not calling to me before the chocolate discovery? I was actually, even if she was, you know, grabbing the phone and calling to me, Olga, there is a bill for you. So I was speaking like, yeah, you're calling only to me when it's something to pay, you know. You just want to you just don't want to pay for me. You don't care about me, you know? Why was not calling yesterday? Because yesterday that was a very stressful day for me. Why? Why? What are you thinking? So my mother couldn't call me herself because she was punishing by me all the time. So I was, from the diagram below, I was after the behavior, I was punishing her, so decreasing the behavior, actually, of the act of calling. Okay. And so the self-awareness. The first step was to work on myself, because I have to stop punishing her, you know, to have this understanding that my behavior has influence on behavior of others. And then teach myself how to provide positive feedback to her, yeah, in the right moment. And then we was just happy, you know, was flourishing. So you have to remember that when you want to change something in behavior of others and of yourself as well, you have to remember that this is a process. You have to repeat it a couple of times, you know, and like children are learning to run. First you need to stand, then a little bit, you know, go, and then run. So that's the way we're learning. And I want to come back to the chocolate point, because, you know, if you want to really find a way to why people are doing the way they're doing, what they have from that, like my mother, she was avoiding calling to me because she didn't want to feel punished. So if you feel this perspective, you really feel you can, you know, go into someone's shoes and see the situation and understand it and feel it, then you'll be, you know, you will understand more. You know, this is the awareness of others. This is cognitive empathy, actually, like that I can feel what others feel and I understand the context. And my daughter was, when she started to speak, from the first moment, she was like wishing a cat. Mama, we have to have a cat. This is the most beautiful animal on earth. We need to buy one. So there was some years, and I decided, okay, we're ready to have a cat, right? So I bought one. I was so, you know, happy. My daughter also, but not so long after. I mean, it was 2 weeks or a month. She came to me and said, Mama, you know, I have to tell you something very important. I was wrong. I mean, I want to have a dog. And so the self-insight is also important. What are you wishing for other people to act? Because sometimes it's not the thing you really wanted. So, and you need to be very detailed, like not just calling with my mom, because we were speaking. This cash collection process works very well, and she was calling, and she was very, you know, effective in that. I was really paying, and so we get the contact. But there was not the thing I wanted. I was craving, longing for her action by herself. That was the point what I was, you know, going to. And I provided her a motivation. I mean, with the mother it's easy. You just, you know, yes, mom, you're good. It's great. But we all different squirrels, you know. And we like other nuts. Some hazelnuts, you know, some of the peanuts. So the motivation for it has to be appropriate to the person, because it's really tricky. You can, you know, be misled by that. This is, I'm very bad in telling jokes, but I'm trying. So this is the situation when the small mosquito is flying and, you know, undergoing the first flight through, I don't know, the air and people, gathering of people. And, you know, what are you doing when you see the mosquito? You know, just try to kill it spontaneously. But the mosquito thinks that, you know, people clapping their hands, it's applause. So, you know, in practice, it's like that if you put attention sometimes to the behavior you want to decrease, you maybe are rewarding by the paying attention. So it's like, you know, so this actually increase the behavior, not decrease as it should be. And how to find the way to motivate people. This is the border collie. This is the most intelligent dog, and he has very responsible role in life. The dog is sheepdog, I mean the shepherd, right? And he has to lead all the sheep's very big team of sheep. And it's not easy, you know, you have to listen to people because every bay can be different and it's different message, different context. So he's very good in that. He's listen actively, right? And asking open questions. Let people to speak freely. And then, you know, collect the information and observing what they are doing, which way, because it's always significant. So the situation, what is, you know, what the factors are coming to those sheep. And if they are afraid or they are excited, you know, this is very important. So he's very good in that. And being border collie, we can be Dalmatian in the office. So if we are aware and we know how to, you know, motivate people in a good way, it's for us a tool to protect our good dots, not to lose them, not to lose the good potential in our, I don't know, our character. So positive reinforcement, all, it's like a compass, you know, it leads people, okay, go this way, yeah, continue this, but stop this. So it's a very powerful tool, like a feedback. It has to be concrete and appropriate, as I said before, to a person. So to sum up, what was the technique? I mean, the analysis, that's the first thing, that you have to observe. Sometimes ask, but the observation is very crucial. Then make a contract, very detailed, when, what, and why. And then provide the motivation, the stimulus that will make people feel happy after that, in a good timing, as soon as possible. Then it works the best. And because I've learned how to share the chocolate, so I would like to share with you also more my ideas about this and other ideas. And if you want to contact me, then of course you're welcome. And I hope that here in CBRE we can build a team of very self-aware people, and we will grow our dots for good. So thank you so much. And so now our last speaker, Salvatore.
I'm Salvatore. You may know me because you are meeting in the company. Usually this guy that is drinking this espresso in the kitchen, talking with everyone. And this is my nature. And today, I mean, this is the 5th time that I'm taking part in CBRE Talks. And basically, I like to talk. I like to share some idea, to inspire, give some takeaway, because this is all about. And this time, I have another interesting topic that I would like to share with you. May you know this topic, or maybe you don't know how it's called. But before to introduce this topic, I want to tell you something that came from my previous life when I was working as a chemical engineering at university. So basically there I was designing and testing plastic materials for different purpose, automotive, food packaging. And one of the tests that I was performing was using this equipment. This is called the pendulum, Sharpie or ISO, it depends how you put the specimen. Here on this grip you put the specimen, plastic materials, you release the bar. This bar is impacted materials, and what it's doing is measuring the energy absorbed before the break. So once we check this energy, then we can assess if the materials was designed, you know, the energy that absorbed this material is enough or break too early, then we can assess if it's okay. If it's not okay, then we need to do something. We need to do something with these materials. We need to reinforce. So we need to put some fillers, right? And this is the topic from today. So you may know this topic is resilience. Actually, my previous colleague served me on the plate because they touched several points of being resilient. And this is amazing because they make my life easily. And this is not the case that I'm the last speaker, because basically I will touch all the points that you touched. And I cannot define with human being resilience like the energy at break, because we don't want to break itself. But basically is the energy that we absorb before we collapse to the stress or to the fear, to the many things that we have. So we may define the ability to get through hard time, the ability to react and to recover from different events. And of course, this is resilience is not something that you have genetic, but it's something that you build. My previous colleague just touched many points. At some point, they did some self-assessment. They recognized they're missing something, and they actually reinforce. As you can see in this picture, so here, you can see all the things in which we are good. And basically, the fact that we are here, all the speakers, they just show you how resilient they are, because they know how to do the presentation in PowerPoint. All of us, we know how to do the PowerPoint presentation, but we didn't know how to be resilient in front of the camera. And that's why we did something before being on the stage. So there were Jarek that provide us some training, some tools, some tips to be on the stage. What does it mean? Being resilient does not mean that all the speakers were here, they were not feeling the stress before the camera. Me as well, despite I like to talk, I'm feeling the stress now. Doesn't mean that I don't feel the stress, I'm not going to all this hard time. But we know how to cope this situation, so we know how to move on, and this is all about. So, developing resilience is not something that you can do like that, or you have a to-do list. Okay, I'm following this instruction, I'm resilient. No, just because all previous speakers, and you may know that we are different, we may react in different way to all events. Something that for me is easygoing, for you may have some consequences, because we react in different way, because we have inner strength or external strength that give us more resilience or not. So why resilience is important for us as individual first, because give the people the way to cope all these situations that we may face in life. From our private life, from the organization, and how we are doing this. We are using our resources. First, our inner strength, and also other external resources that we built. And resilience also empower all of us to accept all the situation, all the challenges that we may have and move on, not give up as we may listen before. So people with a lack of resilience are more likely to be, let's say, overwhelmed about all the situation. So that's why it's important to build this resilience, to be more resilient. So why then is important for us? Because we are an employee in CBRE, we are in a team, we are in a company, and we are dealing with many situations. So as a team as well, we need to be resilient, because sometimes there are challenges in the teams. Sometimes people are not supporting, and we need to support them, and we are not willing to support because of many situations. And we would like to give up. So that's why as a team we need to be, and as an organization, we need to be more resilient. So it helps the teams also to be motivated to achieve their goal and to regulate their emotion. And of course, these are the resilience team are just the one that advance, rather consider regardless the obstacle that they may find, they just move on and improve themselves. We were talking about events. So there are several events, of course, because we are not ready for everything. You just experience that we have some gaps, or we have some events that we cannot do anything about that. Some events, you can see circle of control, are connected with the behavior. So you can do something by yourself. And our colleagues just already give you some experience. There are some events that are outside of our control, connected with the behavior of others. Imagine we are working as a team. We cannot do anything if one colleague is not cope better. We can influence, at least. And then there are events that we cannot control at all. If I give you an example, the time that we are still feeling about the COVID time, this is something that you cannot control. It's something bigger than us. Therefore, of course, I don't want to go in a kind of academic lesson because this is not the purpose of this topic. You may find lots of knowledge in internet or some training, just to give you some insight what is all about this resilience and how it's broken. I mean, there are basically four categories. One is psychological, how you mentally adapt to the challenge and how you cope. Then there is emotional, because these affect also your emotion. When you receive an unpleasant email, the first things you react. So you react soon as it's okay, this email, now they ask me to do this. You know, this is the reaction, the first reaction, because you are not enough resilient. Physical, this can have a consequence on your body because you feel so stressed. So many situations, are stressed you. This can have a consequence on your body. And the people sometimes just give up because of too many stressor. And then community. Why is community? We just touched the topic of COVID time. So this is as a community, we need to be resilient. All the world were now aware how to cope with the COVID time, and still we are, paying the consequences. And this is as a community, we need to react somehow. This was the case of COVID, this was the terrorist attacks and whatever. So now, of course, we touched several points. And how to build and cultivate resilience. You may understand that this is not something that you can do one time, one shot, and that's all. No, because this is a continuing process. Because tomorrow you will have another stress, another event that you are not expected, and you don't know how to react. So that's why I like, because all speaker, my colleague, just touched the first step that is develop self-awareness. All my previous colleague touched this point. This is the base. You need to recognize what you are good in and what is missing. And then you need to reinforce, as just Olga says, then you need to reinforce something that is missing to cope the situation. And then you need to start to build some skills. There are training, there are tips, there are exercises, a technique that I will show some of them in order to be more resilient. Of course, you need to increase optimism, because this is the first part. I mean, you need to be optimistic, because if you start with the negativity, then you cannot cope. And there's also something that you need to build, learn some skills, and also the connection, the social connection. This is very important when you are meeting people. Like Piotr was saying in his talk, that he was meeting some friend from university and meeting in different parts. This is also good. You need to establish a connection, new connection, because it gives you lots of insight. And as I told you, it's not one shot, something that you can do one time. It's a continuing process. You need to build, you need to test, you need to reinforce. And these are the 4 C, the control, challenge, confidence, and commitment. Control. See, here I'm giving you some technique that even Emilia was touching at the beginning. So just practicing this, you may have just a different way to react. If something comes that is not pleasant for you, it's coming now at 5 and you are leaving the office, so then you may react. But if you are doing some technique like that, stop, breathe, notice, and then reflect, and then respond. This may help you to change your, let's say, reaction. And the same in the other exercise. This I tried in the company when they were providing a training for resilience. So we tried live, just breathe, hold, release. So this is something that you can apply from today. When you are leaving the office, that you will miss the bus, you will start to be upset, right? So you can start to do this. Okay, I missed the bus, calm down, and then you move on. And then the second C is challenge. We were talking before about mistakes, but if you start to reframe, like using the reframing process, instead of mistake, talk about challenging, so you can learn from experience. As also other colleagues were saying, it will be hard for me? No, let's reframe. What can I do to improve? It's time consuming? Who can support me? You know that this is just changed perspective. And then confidence. You need to be confident, beliefs, and gratitude. So also it's good sometimes to consider what good I am, what strength I have, for what I'm grateful. This is also important because you build confidence. I'm confident in that. Of course, I need something else, but I'm confident in that. And then, of course, commitment. We say, also my colleagues touch this point. It's not one time. You need to commit that, and you need to all the time do the step, repeat, as Olga was saying before. So, technique, good thing list, training. And this is too fast. So, what I would like to give you and leave for today some takeaway. You can think, how we were discussing before, how much resilient you are. This is the first step, self-awareness. How much resilient for all events that you have in your life. Empower your resilience. There are technique, there are training, and other experience of other people. And then reframe your difficulty in challenging, and keep learning and move on. And this is the piece of advice that I would like to give you today. And I hope you enjoyed. This was a really great session. And yes. And I will pass now the voice to Maciej that will just conclude this edition. Thank you.
Oh, Salvatore. Wrapping up after you, it's a very difficult one, but I will pick up this challenge. So let's start with Emilia. So Emilia was sharing with us today about conquering a fear, and in my opinion, Emilia, just the fact that you came here and you were brave enough to tell us about your experiences, the proof that you did conquer your fear. And I'm pretty sure majority of us were at some point of time in our lives at a similar stage like Emilia. And in my personal opinion, it's not like maybe conquering a fear, but if you make the fear your friend, it might be a really important and powerful fuel for your transformation, and it can help you out in many different things in your personal and professional life. And then we had Tomek, and I remember our first discussion with Tomek around CBRE Talks, and what kind of topic he can present. So just this discussion is a great proof that even though you think you are not learning, just by being passionate about some things you can actually learn. You just have to kind of realize that you're actually learning. So just my personal note to Tomek, thank you for bringing up the anime. I'm also a huge fan, and I've been watching anime for over 10 years. And actually, I'm very honest, I will be transparent. It is a very important part of my life, and it gave me a lot of interesting lessons. So then, similar but yet a totally different angle on learning. It's about Slava. Again, we had a discussion with Slava around the topics. So thank you, Slava, for joining and trusting that this is something, again, you can learn from. I didn't know that checkmate means king is dead. So just, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing with everybody the fact that just by doing some simple things, you can learn some stuff. You don't have to go to Mount Everest to learn something, to experience something. You can do some simple stuff and just experience that. Piotr, so yes, I will be straightforward. Simple hacks. Sometimes it's about simplicity. So simple hacks, you don't have to over-exaggerate that. Simple hacks, and you can gain a lot of time, which you can utilize in many different ways. Piotr already gave an example. I gave my example. So about my presentation, again, let me highlight two messages. It's not only about circular economy, it's also about the process. I just hope tomorrow when I will open my mailbox, I won't have too many messages like, hi Maciej, I have a chair to renovate. What about that? When you can do that for me? It's not like I will decline, but yeah, I just need to speak more with Piotr about how I can have more time to do that. So yes, if you have a chair, we can speak about that one. Normally for a consultation, I charge a bar of chocolate, dark one. Yeah, so moving on, Kamil, minimalism. So Kamil, thank you for that. I did something similar 2 years ago, so I can fully agree with you. The hidden message is, of course, on top of the fact that you have a less stuff to clean in your apartment, and it's like kind of nice and tidy, and when you invite your friends, you don't have to be ashamed of the mess which is around. There is a hidden message. It's about the stuff is not controlling your life. The stuff you buy is more about to help you out in improving the quality, the experience of the life you have. Then Olga, so I will start with chocolate, because everybody who knows me, they know that I'm a huge fan of chocolate. So just by saying about chocolate, you just won my heart. And I hope it's gonna be majority of the audience, you won their hearts. Thank you for sharing your very personal example and how it helped you improve not only your relationships, but also how it can help others with building a better professional relationships. Then we have Artur. I would say a lot of digest after what Artur presented. Very, very, very important message, powerful one. Sometimes when we are speaking with somebody and there is a fight starting, we have to have a stop and remind what Artur told to us. Definitely a powerful one. So then when such a thing will happen to me, I will take a lesson from Salvatore. I don't yet remember all of those steps, Salvatore, but I will remember to breathe, and then I will just follow the next steps you mentioned, and I will try to be very resilient. And speaking about resilience, I promise you the last anecdote. So it purely reminded me of the process of creating the katana, when it's like you have to, not sure what is the verb in English, but you just simply, try to make a katana, you forge it. I believe this is the proper verb. You forge it around 8-9 times. So it's, I would say, pretty much similar with resilience, the way you can build it over years, and it's not just 8-9 times, it's a continuous process. So you should be aware that once you start, there is no stop. So before you will take on Salvatore's message and advices, and you will start building your resilience, just ensure you have a lot of chocolate to fuel your stomach and your inside energy system. So again, thank you to all 9 brave speakers. And I would like to invite everybody onto the stage. Just let's try to squeeze into this small area. Let me also invite our sponsor, Greg. Yes, Greg. And also our trainer, Mr. Jarek. So then we can have, we can be on everybody's screen. We can wave, and they can give us a big applause. We can give ourselves a big applause for inspiring each other. One last message, unless Greg would like to say something. I believe he would like to say something. So one last message. Next year definitely we'll have a 7th edition of CBRE Talks. So yeah, you can join. We are open to have some new faces. I'm pretty sure Mr. Jarek will also will invite some new joiners in the world of presentation. So please join, come, share your ideas, inspire each other, and also we will definitely support you in becoming a powerful, even more powerful speaker. Greg, passing the microphone to you.
Unexpected yet joyful. Thank you so much, everyone. Congratulations. It's incredible, the 6th edition, inspiring speeches, great speakers, fantastically prepared. And this is actually a historical moment. After 5 years of driving with your help this great platform, CBRE Talks, I'm handing over to my successors. So Maciek, as well as Salvatore, you are the great successors, keeping CBRE Talks not only alive, but bringing new inspiring speeches. So old faces known to all of us for years, but also new speakers. Thank you so much for this edition. Very well done. And I'm waiting for CBRE Talks edition number 7 in 12 months' time. Thank you so much once again.